my mat, finally. Yes, I see you, you demon. So, right, I am going to make a start. So we're going to start laying down this evening. So just, you can start using your props already if that would feel nice for you. But if you want to just slowly bring yourself down to the mat and just coming into the space, either having your knees bent or you can stretch your legs away long, whatever feels nice for you tonight. But I would suggest that you upturn your palms as you come to rest here. It just gives your shoulders a nice external rotation and opens in the upper body. So just slowly coming into the space, starting to internalize sensations and what's going on for you. Maybe some of you have had very busy days, I know. So just starting to come into the space, this little oasis of calm that is your yoga mat. And gently closing the eyes or lowering your gaze. And bringing your attention and your awareness to physical sensations in the body right now. So just noticing what's here tonight. If you're carrying any tension in your shoulders, perhaps just letting them really be heavy here. Let them spread onto your mat. Perhaps just loosening the jaw. Tucking the chin very slightly. Let's just elongating the neck there, trying to find release from any tension that might have crept into the shoulders or the neck. Really get the sensation that give your shoulder blades a little squeeze towards each other and just let them go. Let them melt apart on the mat. And then flattening the spine into the mat, maybe just tilting the pelvis very slightly to see how it feels when you've got your spine as flat on the mat as possible. And then just noticing how it feels in your sacrum region, with your sacrum being flat on the mat. Maybe your legs are away long here. If they are, noticing the backs of the legs on the surface that's supporting you, and the calves and the heels. But if you've got your knees bent, perhaps just bringing your attention to the soles of your feet, where they're on the mat. And also the backs of the hands on the mat, fingertips softly curled in towards the palms. And let's just bring our attention to our belly. Looking for softness, letting go of any tension in the belly area. And bringing your attention to the breath as the diaphragm moves up and down, making the belly rise and fall. Just seeing if perhaps we can slow the breath a little. According to the guru that I had the pleasure to briefly study under when I went to India a few years ago, he maintains that long breath equals long life. So if we can just slow everything down. And bring a sense of release with every exhale. Letting your day go. Shifting the focus to the ribs and the side body. The flaring of the ribs with every breath as the lungs fill and empty. And perhaps consider how the rib cage is moving in the back body where it's meeting the mat. Just bringing your attention to the back body with every breath. And then shifting the awareness once more. Usually we try and have a little visualization around the collarbone region. This time, take your attention to the back body, to your shoulder blades, and see if you can just imagine or visualize the lungs as if you were looking with X-ray specs through the back of your body. So the lungs are being gravity assisted towards the shoulder blade area. See if you can just visualize the very tops of the lungs here. And with each and every breath, just noticing how the back body feels, where the tops of the lungs would be. See if you can just bring an awareness to that movement. So letting go of any control of the breath or the visualizations, just let your breath find its own rhythm. And now if you want to make a sankalpa or set an intention for your practice this evening, this is perhaps a good time to do it. Maybe if you have had a horrendously difficult or busy day, maybe just want to introduce the notion that you want to be relaxed. So sankalpas are always stated in the present tense. So I am relaxed, I am calm, I am present. If something comes up for you, that's great. Just mentally go over it 2 or 3 times and then let it go. If nothing comes up or this isn't really your thing, no worries, just breathe with the breath, enjoying this relative time of calm and stillness, and see if you can find that calm and stillness in your practice this evening. So however you have settled yourself for Savasana, we're going to slowly all meet in a full body overhead stretch. So just stretch both legs away long, pointing into the toes, reaching the arms up and overhead, stretching away with the fingertips. And let's really create some space between the ribs and the hips. So reaching away long, really tucking the chin in, creating extra length in the cervical spine here. Sucking the abs in. And then just relax, leaving your arms stretched overhead. So just get that sense of release from the stretch. Then we're going to creep both heels over to the left corner of the mat. And we're going to bring the right hand to meet the left hand in the left corner of the mat. So we're doing this banana-shaped stretch here, where our torsos are in the center of our mat, but our extremities are meeting in the left-hand corners of the mat. So really just making this an active stretch here, so stretching away with the fingers, maybe the right hand is on top of the left here, stretching away with the left fingertips. And with the toes as well over towards the left. And then release that stretch, walking heels back to center, arms back to center, just taking a moment to recalibrate. And then let's walk the heels over to the right side of the mat, feeling for the corner. And take both hands, stacking one on top of the other, over to the right top corner of the mat. And taking our little banana stretch here. So make it nice and active, point away with the fingertips, stretch away, point away with the toes, I meant to say. Stretch away with the fingertips. Just noticing how it feels this side. And then as we release, let's take everything back to the center, slowly, slowly, slowly. Just having a little wriggle here, let the ankles flop. In and out, in and out, in and out. Just loosen them off here. Slowly bring the arms up and overhead here until they're back down by your side. And slowly let's bring the left knee in over the chest here. So we're stretching away long with the right leg. So just noticing how this feels. Have a little play with your pelvis here and just give it a little bit of a tilt so that you feel that your spine is really flattened into the mat here. So we're kind of assisting and making this a longer stretch than usual by having the right leg away. Usually we have the right leg, the right knee bent. If that's more comfortable for you, by all means take it. But otherwise, if you're reasonably comfortable with the right leg away long, let's do that. And let's take a nice big inhale here. And on the exhale, just curling the shoulders off the mat and bringing the nose to meet the knee here. So just a gentle stretch that's involving our abs here. So nice and strong in the cylinder that is the core here. And slowly, slowly placing the head and neck back down. Let's send the left leg away long here. Taking a moment, maybe taking a wriggle from side to side on the sacrum, and then slowly bending the right knee up and in toward the chest. So left leg is stretched away long. You can activate the foot if you want a bit of a hamstring stretch here, or if you're feeling lazy and tired and you just want this to be passive, that is also okay. You can be totally passive in the left leg by letting the left ankle just flop out, let the foot flop out to the side. And then let's have a nice big inhale here. And on the exhale, let's curl the shoulders off the mat and bring the nose in to meet the knee. So really squashing the spine flat into the mat to make sure that it's our ab muscles doing the work, not the back muscles. And then slowly lowering head and neck down to the mat. And bring both knees in towards the chest and take a little rock and roll here. And then leaving both knees over the chest. On an inhale, we're going to push the knees slightly away. And on an exhale, we're going to draw the knees in and come up to meet with the nose. So inhale, push them away. Exhale, curling up to meet the knees. Inhale, away, head and neck, shoulders come down. Exhale, let's meet the knees. 2 more times. Inhale, knees go away. Exhale, come up to meet the knees. So really curling and flattening the spine. Inhale, send the knees away. Last time, let's bring those knees in. Nose comes up. And relax and release. So sending both legs away long here just for a moment. Taking a breath. And before we move on and start changing our shape, I'm just going to get you to slowly and carefully reach for your bolster and bring it so that it's behind you. Just going to take a little moment here to release our shoulders. So bringing the bolster so that your bum is not, is only just on the end of the bolster. But what we do want is for our shoulders, the very top of our shoulders to be supported, but for our neck to be able to come down here. So if you like, the back of our head is touching the mat. It's not being supported by the bolster. If this is uncomfortable for you, just get a little something to place under your head. But what we do want is for both arms to be off the edge of the bolster with palms upturned and slightly stretched away from the body. So we get this lovely external rotation in the shoulders here, a nice opening in the chest. And just bend softly into your knees so you're supporting into your lower back. You don't have to have the legs straight here. If you've had a busy and stressful day, the likelihood is that your shoulders have rounded in and you've become a little hunched. So this is the perfect antidote for that. Just draping your shoulders off the edge of the bolster, allowing the front body to totally open here. As long as your neck isn't impinged, by all means support your neck with a little something, or block or cushion or something underneath. But if you can just have the top of your head reaching the floor here, it's a rather lovely and calming stretch to have. And of course it is of sorts a tiny inversion because your heart is very slightly higher than your head. So very calming to hold this position. While we're here, just connecting with your breath again. And perhaps just noting the moments of stillness in your body between the breaths, the little lull between the inhale and the exhale, and then the exhale and the inhale. Just noticing that even though there's always something going on in the fantastic inner machinery of our bodies, there are these little lulls and everything just changes direction. Imagine even the heartbeat, if you listen to a heartbeat, a lub-lub, there's always a little pause. So really just yielding into the surface beneath you here. Checking in with the body that you're not holding tension anywhere here at all, just trying to let it all go. Everything about this posture is passive. If for any reason it just doesn't feel comfortable for you, then bring yourself back to Savasana, where everything is totally passive and you feel supported and safe and relaxed. It's not an endurance test tonight. We'll save the endurance for the weekend sessions, I think. And then very slowly and mindfully, I want you to just figure out for yourself how you're going to gracefully dismount your bolster. Maybe it means rolling to the side and slowly moving your bolster to one side, but just take care and don't rush at all when doing this. It's a nice restorative practice. We want everything about it to be carefully considered and nice and supportive. So once you've managed to safely come off your bolster, I want you to move it to the front of your mat and have it so it's in the same orientation as your mat. So it's you're facing the length of your bolster. And we're just going to come to all fours here. We're going to do a little bit of cat-cow. So we're going to start with the traditional cat-cow with our wrists underneath our shoulders, knees beneath our hips here. So let's start by taking the chin all the way in towards the chest and really actively push the mat away. Let's see what we can feel here. And then let's reverse it by dropping our belly down, lifting the chin up, sending the hips back here, and coming to neutral. Now bringing your hands so that they come to rest on your bolster. Now I did tell you all to have your bolster lengthways. You might need to turn it around, but I want you to use your bolster to be able to just bring the ground a little bit higher up, a little bit closer to you is what I mean. So placing your hands on your bolster here, I've turned mine around. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing again. And notice how it changes things. So chin comes in towards the chest, really pushing away here. So maybe we can bring our knees a little bit closer to the bolster. What I want you to do is get that full rounding of the shoulders and the bolster being beneath is just adding a little something. We're working a tiny bit more into the lower back here. So really stretching and releasing all those places we hold tension. And then let's reverse that the other way. So chin comes up, belly drops, just noticing how it feels to have this support beneath us that we're not really used to having. And let's go once more the other way. So tucking the chin in, really rounding into the shoulders here, pushing away into the bolster. And then last time, let's drop the belly, bring the chin up, sending the heart forwards here, but still active in the shoulders. Have a think about, although we're active in the shoulders, think about perhaps squeezing the shoulders together a little. See how that changes things. And then coming to neutral. Now we need to turn the bolsters round, so have them lengthways here, and we're going to take our hands kind of cat-cow distance apart. You might need to push your bolster forward a little bit. We're going to thread the needle here, but use the bolsters to support us while we're in our twist. So we're going to go towards our left first, so taking the weight into the left hand, we're going to feed the right hand underneath, and we're going to bring the edge of the right shoulder down to the mat, and we're going to find our bolster here and just lay our heads down. So hopefully you might need to play with where you feel most comfortable here, but I want you to really be able to use the bolster to support you here. And if and when you want to change anything about this stretch, you can either come up onto your fingertips of the left hand, so you can use the fingertips to support you here. Or if you just want a little bit more warmth in this pose, for want of a better word, you can take the left arm directly up, stretching the fingertips away wide, just noticing how that feels. And if you want even more of a twist in the upper body, just bending at the elbow, bring the left hand behind so that it rests on your lower back, and just peel that left shoulder open a little bit. So we're really open in a twist here. We're being supported by the bolster. Slowly, let's bring that left hand back, up through center, all the way down to the front. Fingertips meet the mat. Very, very slowly, let's unwind from there. Now let's take it over to the other side, just noticing if you feel you want to change where your bolster is at all, or where your support is. Maybe you prefer doing this without any support. It's just an option to have it there, but threading the left arm through under the right, bringing the left shoulder down to meet the mat, the left side of your face onto the bolster, and then maybe either just coming up into fingertips here, or taking the left hand up and maybe even bending and just resting the right forearm on the lower back. So just finding your connection with your breath here. Really peeling that right shoulder back to get the twist in the front body here. And then straightening the right arm, slowly bringing it all the way down and forward to meet the mat. And pushing back into an all fours position. Now from here, turning your bolster around again so it's at right angles to your mat. Just bringing the elbows onto the bolster here. And you can either take extended child's pose with your knees wide apart and your hands together behind your neck, like so. Or if extended child's pose is not ever so comfortable for you, or you want to just take some pressure out of your knees, you might wish to stay with your knees at a right angle and just bring your elbows down. So we're in puppy pose. Still doing the same sort of thing. We're getting a stretch into our triceps here, So if you're doing the puppy version, just sending the hips high, getting that nice stretch in the front body. Hands come together in prayer. You should feel a stretch in your triceps as you push away with your elbows. So just noticing which version of this feels most appropriate for you this evening and working with that. Connecting with your breath. Finding the still points. And then very slowly lowering the hands and coming back to where you can be in a neutral kind of tabletop position once more. So just taking a moment here, coming to a seated position. And we're going to bring the soles of the feet together for Baddha Konasana. You know I love this one because I like writing it down. And sitting in your version of Baddha Konasana, which is most comfortable. So maybe it's having your feet very, very close to your body. Maybe it feels nicer for you if your feet are further away. It really depends on how much external rotation of your hips you've got. If you've got reasonably good external rotation, you might be more comfortable with it in. Your choice entirely. Just be relaxed, be comfortable. This, as I said, is not an endurance. It's just about finding what your body wants today after the day that you've had. Only you know that. So sitting nice and tall here. Just checking in with how the hips feel, how the knees feel. Maybe this isn't such a great position for you to hold, and by all means change it. But if you're reasonably comfortable here, holding on to the handles, I was going to say, holding on to your handles of your feet, otherwise known as your ankles, we're just going to start doing some small torso rolls. So really moving into the side body as well as the front and the back body. So we're loosening off the back, we're working into the shoulders here. You can make this as expansive or as contained as you like. So moving with what you feel your body might like. I always seem to be quite tight in my shoulders, so I do like to involve them. And then back the other way. Again, don't be worried about shifting your feet position. If you'd rather sit cross-legged, then do, or with your legs straight out. But we're just warming up the torso here, noticing where you're rolling over your sitting bones, and then coming to stillness. And if you've got your block handy, sorry, I should have said that before, bringing your block and just placing it between your feet if you've got your feet together like I have. And finding lift and length in your spine, we're going to pull, using our feet handles, we're going to pull ourselves forward and see if we can just bring our chin to our upturned block. If there isn't a hope of you doing that, maybe just resting on your block here. What we want is to decrease the angle at the hip here. We want a bit of a forward fold. So sending the hips back, the spine is nice and long, the chin is tucked a little bit so that we're beautifully long in the spine, and just releasing through the lower back. So you'll feel a bit of tension into the sacrum area. It should all feel good, not bad. If it feels bad, you've gone too far. So just taking a moment here, using your block as a prop here, if that's comfortable. If it's not comfortable for you to have your hips out, you can always bring your feet together and have your block on top of your knees and take a stretch this way with your forehead down. So your choice entirely, only you know the sort of day that you've had. So just staying here for a few more breaths, thinking about the length of our spine and where we can create just a little bit more. And slowly Walking our hands back up so that we can come back up to seated. Just moving the block out of the way for now. Now, your choice how you want to sit. I'm going to cross my legs because I actually find that quite comfortable. But sit however you would like. We're just going to do a couple of rounds of seated cat-cow, just because we can bring something a little different to the moves when we're seated rather than letting gravity do the work one way or t'other. So we're going to find our lift and length here. So really lots of space in the spine here. And let's take our hands to join at the back. So we're clasping our hands here. Really squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then lift the arms up behind you. So this is quite strong, but again, we're looking to rid ourselves of any of today's tension. So we're really open in the front body here. We're in a full and very active stretch here, which will feel wonderful once we've let it go. So just holding for a moment here, remembering to breathe all the time. And then slowly releasing the hands and bringing the arms round in front to clasp at the front here, and then really round into it. So we're doing our old tree hugging thing here. So really collapse into the back. If I was to look at you from the side, you'd look like the letter C. So we've collapsed into our pelvis here. Our chin is tucked. Really stretch away, create lots of space between the shoulders. And then slowly, as we start to lift and lengthen through the spine, let's unclasp the hands, bring them to meet once more at the back. And let's go straight back into the lift and the squeeze. So we're raising our arms up. It depends how flexible you are in your shoulder joint. Obviously, a few of you have had shoulder issues. So listen to what your body is whispering to you. If it's already shouting, you've gone too far. So just finding that edge of, balancing the effort and the ease. This shouldn't be hard work, but it should feel fairly active so that we can just release the tension there. And then let's slowly bring the arms round to the front as we start to curl in towards ourselves here. So really rounding through the spine, chin comes right in onto the chest. Push those hands away. In fact, turn the palms outwards. Let's do that here and get an internal rotation of the shoulders. Stretching the fingers here, stretching into the palms. And then slowly let's bring ourselves up to seated here. Oh, and take whatever little rolls and movements might feel nice. So you might want to do a little forward and back with your shoulders. And then we're going to do a couple of lateral bends, which means from side to side. I know a few of you find this leg movement tricky, so if you want to stay exactly where you are, do. But if you can do the shoelace pose, where you have one knee bent underneath you and you bend the other one on top. So as you look down, your knees are directly one above the other, and your feet are both flexed and they are parallel with either end of the mat. So this feels quite active. It feels very active, in fact, in the glutes. But it's a really effective old stretch into the glutes. If you've got tight hips, if you've been sitting all day, if you can sit like this, then do. If it's just not happening for you, or you really want to give into this whole kind of passive practice tonight, then just get yourselves comfy. That's the most important thing. Now, have your block to one side here, because what we're going to do, we're going to really lift and lengthen, but we're going to very casually lean on our block here. So we're going to lift and lengthen in the right hand side, and then we're just coming over towards the block. So elbow can either, I can't really lean on one because it's a squishy cushion block, but you can actually rest your head on your hand with your elbow on the block and be quite supported here. And just notice how that feels. So we're getting a good old stretch from the right hip up to the right ribs, all the way into the right armpit, but we're also getting a very, very effective stretch Incidentally, I didn't explain that very well when we started. I've got my right leg on top, so I'm leaning over to my right. Whichever leg you've got on top, if you're doing this shoelace pose, that's the arm to lead with. So sorry for not explaining that. So just taking a couple more breaths here. And then slowly up to center and bringing that arm down. Now, of course, we need to equal everything up. So let's swap the legs if you're doing the shoelace. If you're already in Savasana, lovely job. Pull something over your head and I'll wake you at the end. But if you're still with me, let's take the block to the other side. Take the elbow on it, sit nice and tall. Just notice how the stretch feels in this side. Obviously, we're usually, well, not obviously, but it's fairly typical to be more tight in one hip than the other. So just noticing if this is the tight hip for you. Likelihood is you chose your favorite hip. So we're now doing the least favorite hip. So just noticing how we feel. Let's lift up with the same arm as the leg that's on the top. And then just take that little tilt over towards the right. Notice where you feel this, hopefully in the glute of the leg that's uppermost. Hopefully you feel nice and open from your hips to your ribs into the armpit. Remember to breathe. And then slowly up to center. And down we go. Ooh. Right, release the legs off and come to your most comfortable seat. So Sukhasana means comfy seat. It's in yogic terms, it means sitting cross-legged, but I want you to find your own Sukhasana. So sit however, if you want to sit on your bolster, sit on your bolster. Find whatever feels appropriate right now. And let's just bring our attention back to our lift and length. And there's a good chance that maybe you're sitting a little bit forward, that you're using your hands as a little bit of leverage. What I want you to do is kind of go back the other way, but before you start collapsing, let's find that neutral place where we're neither forward nor back, but we're just almost balanced on our sitting bones here. And then bringing the arms up into this cactus arms shape or goalpost shape, whatever you like. Very slowly, we're going to start taking a turn towards the left. The chances are you won't get very far. We want to isolate this movement entirely to our rib cage. So we're not trying to hoik our right hip round as well. So we're just seeing where we get to here. Let the face follow between the shoulders. Just taking a moment here, seeing how the left shoulder feels as we're trying to tease it back a little bit more. And then before we start tiring, let's bring it back to center, recalibrate, lift and lengthen, squeeze the shoulders round and back towards each other. And then let's go around to the right and see how that feels in comparison. Maybe you can go a bit further, perhaps you can't go quite so far. Just noticing what happens where we're not using our arms to assist in this. Normally we hold on to the opposite knee and sort of crank ourselves around. Tonight we're doing this unassisted, and then back to center again. One more time over to the left. And this time, while we're here, just find your breath and your connection to it here. And then bring the right hand down to the left knee. Bring the left hand down behind your bum and see if you've got a couple more centimeters. I'm guessing you have now that we're here. So just noticing how this feels. Normally we lead with the shoulder here. I want you to see what's going on in your right hip. As we find that extra bit of a twist here, hopefully you'll feel a tightening in the skin of your torso, in the fascia here. You will really feel that stretch from the right hip. So nice and gently, don't be aggressive with it, but just noticing where we're aware of the sensations in this stretch. And then slowly releasing and coming back to center, just having a little squiggle here, and then bringing the arms back up. We're going to go back round to the right again, just getting to where we get to, not pushing too far, connecting with our breath here. When we're here, let's drop both hands. Left hand comes to right knee, right hand comes behind your bum, and let's just take that twist a little bit further so we really feel the skin in the torso, the stretch all the way from the left hip. We can also feel the twist being led from the right shoulder here. But we're really feeling that kind of, if we had a bit of material, you know, when you pull it on the bias, we've kind of got that going on in our torso at the moment. We've got this lovely ringing twist going on, wringing away all the tension from the day. And then slowly let's unwind and come back to center. Ooh, and just take a moment there. Let's loop the shoulders round, take them round in one direction. It doesn't really matter which. And then let's come back the other way. Nice and slowly, seeing if they've eased up at all. And however you have chosen to sit, let's just find our length here a little bit more. Have your block out in front of you. Doesn't matter which way around. And slowly, slowly, keeping that length in the spine, let's decrease the angle at the hip as we bring our hands onto the block in front of us. So we're still leading with this nice diagonal angle from our nose down to the mat way in front of our blocks. Just noticing if any tension has crept in the thighs, hips, knees, seeing if you can do anything to release that. You might be sitting wide-legged here, which is absolutely fine. We'll still get the benefit of the stretch. So if you want to shift and see how that feels, then go for it. As long as we've got a nice long line all the way from our tailbone to our crown, so tucking the chin in. And on an exhale, let's see if we can bring our forearms onto our block. If your block's a bit too far away, then bring it in. What we want here is a supported and assisted forward fold. So we're still nice and active in the legs, however we're choosing to sit. And we're resting our forearms. Bring the hands together in prayer and just lay them down in front so that you're looking at your thumbs glued together and all your fingers glued together. And just check in with what's going on in the shoulders here. See if you can create a bit of space between your shoulders and your ears. And applying a little pressure into the forearms on your block here, just pushing away. So we've got a bit of an engagement going on in the shoulder blades. There's some nice space between them. And then slowly bringing the chin in, tuck it right into the chest, and let's kind of roll out of this. So rolling off your block and up to upright. Right, moving your block, just have it handy, but just to one side at the moment. We're now going to bring both our knees so that they're facing right. And we're going to bring our bolster next to our right hip. So we've got it right next to us here. You might need to adjust your feet so that your knees and hips are comfortable. Sometimes it's better if they're wider apart. Sometimes it's better if they're almost one on top of the other. You choose. So we've come from almost a cross-legged situation where we've got both knees going one way. And then just turning to look at your bolster. And then lay yourself on it. Really drift away on this bolster. Lay your head down. Put your head onto one side. And let's just give in. So you're hugging your bolster here. You're laying to one side. We've been doing some nice little twists and some lateral bends. So this is just nice. It's a little bit more passive than what we've been doing. But this is quite nice. So just noticing how you feel here. Letting the shoulders be really heavy. Connecting with your breath. Reminding yourself if you had made a sankalpa while we were in Savasana at the beginning. Just bringing to mind the quality that you are hoping to nurture in the practice and just bringing that to mind. And if you didn't, just enjoy being here. Whatever side of your face you are laying on, just lift and gently turn and see if you can just tolerate a few breaths on the other side of your face. It will feel a bit weird. If it's too tight in your neck, just kind of balance yourself on your chin. But let's try and turn the head in the opposite direction. You might need to adjust your left shoulder. Do what you need to do to be comfortable. And try and get a sense of relief and release. Very slowly and carefully bringing your head back round to the starting position, bringing your hands level with your chin and slowly pushing yourself up off your bolster and uncurling from the twist. So we're going to take that to the other side now. So mindfully and carefully just moving your bolster so it's next to your left hip, and obviously you'll need to send your knees in the opposite direction. So we're sending both knees towards the left. And we're going to lift and lengthen, just take a moment to get that bolster where it needs to be. And then turn to face the bolster before you go anywhere. So we're starting this twist. Our hips can't really go anywhere. We're quite well anchored, which is good. We're taking that lovely twist with the ribs here. And then let's just slide our bodies down and onto the bolster here. Give your bolster a lovely hug. Just close your eyes and yield into the surface here. Maybe shifting your hips if you need to. Do whatever you need to make yourself a little bit more comfortable in this position so that you can really just connect to the sensations that you are aware of in this position. Noticing if you've involuntarily started to hold tension somewhere that you might be able to let go of. Really checking in with the shoulders. And maybe even the feet. Maybe you've got your toes scrunched. Just let them go. Perhaps you're aware of your heartbeat now that we're laying on our left-hand side. Or perhaps tuning into the lub-lub of the rhythm of your heart as you're laying here at rest. Taking a few rounds of breath just to marvel at its marvelousness. And then slowly and carefully lifting and turning the head and laying on the other side of the face. Just take your time getting there. Noticing where and if any tension has crept in and if you can release it. And then slowly and carefully turn your head back round to the starting position, just taking a moment here as we slide the hands in towards the body and gently raise ourselves up from here. So just taking your time to come back up, noticing how your neck feels. Perhaps take a few little movements here. Bring your hips back round so they are symmetrical, maybe taking one leg away long and the other, just taking whatever movements feel quite nice here. Now moving your bolster to the front of the mat, we're going to bring ourselves round onto all fours and we're going to set ourselves up for a supported pigeon pose. Now I've tried this every which way and you might need to play with it yourself as well. But I want you to use the bolster to assist in this quite deep stretch. Obviously, if your hips are not going to tolerate this, take a very soft version of cobra where you are on your arms like this And just kind of go between supporting yourself and then bringing yourself back up. But if your hips are okay tonight and you want to have a go at pigeon, what we're going to do is we're going to bring the knee, our foot onto the bolster like so. So we're going to kneel on the bolster with our foot sort of parallel with the edge of the mat. And then we're going to walk the other leg away from it. So our leg is supported on the bolster, and we're just going to hold ourselves here. So fairly passively. So we've got nothing underneath the right buttock at all. Now, often when we just do this, we support under there. But I think by actually having your hands here, you can support yourself. Now, you might need to change the angle. I'm actually more comfortable if I bring my heel in towards my body so that my knee is facing the top of the mat. Have a little play with it, because I don't want you to wreck yourselves, but I want you to be where you are supporting yourselves in a nice upright position. Your back leg is stretched away, you have got your toes untucked, and that perhaps when you've been here for a couple of breaths, you can slide back even further. We're kind of just easing into our resting place here. If you suddenly get an ouch moment, then please come back off this. Maybe this is not the right pose for tonight. But we're just going to stay here for a few breaths and enjoy the support of the bolster here as we stretch out that left hip flexor. If you've been sitting all day, this will be a lovely release for you. Or if you've been driving a lot, or even if you've been cycling or running, stretching out the hip flexors are really good counter postures for doing those reckless activities. So just noticing how it feels on this side, noticing what's happened to your right foot here. Maybe you're scrunching your toes up. See if you can just bring a little bit of release there. Wherever we look to release, we look for relief. So with one, there should come the other. So very slowly and mindfully, if you're able, maybe bring your elbows to the bolster. Just checking it out. If you want to take this version of the stretch, if you were plenty fine enough where you were, thank you very much, then just stay there or come out of it and perhaps adopt the passive cobra version where you're supported. But we're going to just stay here for a couple of breaths. Now that we've eased into this, maybe you're suddenly aware of how much more your left hip flexor has allowed a little more space. And then slowly and mindfully coming back, bringing your hands back onto the bolster. Let's slowly lift ourselves out of this version, taking your knees wide on the mat and just pushing yourself back into extended wide leg child's pose. Putting your head or your arms wherever you would like to, using your bolster or not. Just take a few breaths here. Stretching through the shoulders and the hips. And then slowly and carefully just bringing everything back to the center of the mat. And now we're going to work the other leg. So it's our left leg that needs to come to the bolster. So maybe if your left leg is less open than the right, you might need to adjust the angle of things. So just popping your knee on the bolster to start with, and then we can walk the right leg back until we're in this lovely position. Your leg will put itself where it feels most comfortable. And in fact, you might end up moving the orientation of your bolster to match the angle of your leg. That's entirely up to you. It's not cheating, just do it. Just do whatever's going to allow you to be comfortable. So I've already done that. So just keeping up on your, propping yourself up here, really allowing your hip flexor to extend here on the right hand side. You might find that your body weight is on top of your heel. As long as that's not uncomfortable, it's okay. At the moment we're holding ourselves up, so Just checking in with the length of the spine here and whether or not the shoulders are carrying tension. Maybe have a little squeeze one way than the other. So I'm really trying to release in the quads. The quadriceps hold quite a lot of tension when we're doing this. So maybe releasing in the foot and the knee, and just noticing whether or not you can inch that leg back any further without it compromising the integrity that you've created here. If you want to go for a little bit more, maybe bringing the forearms down to the bolster or the mat, and just taking a moment here, tuning in with the shoulders, thinking about the hips, making sure we haven't rolled into our left hip at all. We still want to be as symmetrical as we can visualize ourselves being. So just take a little roll from side to side and stop where you feel that neutral is. And just finding that sense of release and relief. Enjoying the stretch in the left glute here. And the easing out of the hip flexor on the right. And then slowly and carefully, let's bring our hands back in where we can support ourselves once more. And slowly, slowly taking that left leg back. Let's go back to our wide-legged child's pose. And just ease down for your version of what would feel nice right now after the movements we've been doing. So for me, that's toes together, big toes together, knees apart, hands stretched out in front, lovely stretch in the shoulder girdle and forehead down. But yours might look very different, and that's okay. So really become passive once you've set yourself up here. Although your shoulders will be working quite hard, you can really let the weight be taken into the forearms here, so you're fully supported. Let the chest be heavy. And then slowly and mindfully creeping the hands in and the arms in, and just bringing yourself up to seated. Right, from here, having your bolsters handy, we're not going to use it now until Savasana. We've got a couple more things to do, but have it handy because it'll be nice. Be nice for you to have that to flop into at the end, I think. I'm going to try and put this where you can still see what I'm doing. So slowly and mindfully, we are going to roll ourselves down to laying on our mat. So really take your time getting down, be kind to yourselves. We've created all this lovely space. We've slowed everything right down. Let's try and just keep that quality of movement here. And from here, what I want you to do is cross your right leg all the way over your left. I'm going to take my socks off here so you can see what I'm doing. Otherwise, it just looks like a big old knot of knitwear. So my right foot is crossed all the way over my left. And then I'm going to start sliding my left leg down just until I can tuck my right foot underneath the left. So this is actually a version of eagle, which is so much easier to do when you're laying down rather than standing up. I kind of forgot about this. I rediscovered it again earlier today and I thought, oh yeah, that would be a good one. So once you're there, all we're doing, we've got the left leg stretched away a little bit long, we've got the right leg tucked over, and we're just trying to get the toes to hook around behind the ankle. If you haven't got a hope of getting there, just cross that leg over so that we're in this position. Because from there, we're going to take the arms out to the side and we are going to slowly let those knotted up legs
come over to the left-hand side whilst keeping our shoulders on the mat. So I think the movement of the legs will determine when you need to stop so that your arms don't come off the mat. Just for extra assistance, you might want to go cactus arms again here, so you can push your elbows into the mat, which anchors you down, and just get to where you get to. But it makes a little bit more of this supine twist here. You get a proper spinal rotation, as well as knotting our legs in the most funky manner imaginable. So we've got ourselves in this elaborate little pickle. See if you can connect with your breath. I challenge you. Make sure you're still breathing, letting go of that tension that's creeping in that right foot. Just see if you can let it go without pinging undone like an elastic band. And then slowly, 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 placing the arms down, slowly rolling both knees up to center. Ooh, and just let the sacrum flatten for a second there. And uncross the right leg. We're just going to take a couple of little moves in and out of bridge pose, just as a counter movement to all that knotting and goodness knows what we were just doing. So slowly move through, tilting the pelvis up and down. And then coming to rest. And now we're going to go the other side, see how this compares. So cross the left leg all the way over and start sliding the right leg away long until you can tuck that left foot behind the ankle. Just see how you go with that. So maybe you want to bring the legs back in at this point. Maybe you want to take them even further away, just noticing where your comfort point is, because that's what we want. We're still doing all the stretches. Let's get those cactus arms going again. So really root down with the elbows into the mat. And let's just roll onto that right hip without taking the shoulders as well. So seeing where we're going with this. Noticing if your legs go any further or not. See if you can just relax that. I can't even work out which leg is on top or which one's behind now. There'll be one foot that's suddenly become tense. I think it's the left one. Yes, it is. So let it try and release. Maybe you're not going quite so far on this side, or maybe you've got a little bit more range of movement. So just noticing how that feels. If it's too much, just bring your knees back in again. We're not proving anything here. We're just doing something a little bit different tonight. So just holding our legs in this eagle posture. And then very slowly and mindfully, let's let the arms lower as we bring the knees up to center. Very gently uncrossing the legs. Oh, Badger's decided to come and join us now. And let's just go through a couple of rounds of bridge pose again. So just rolling through the pelvis. This should feel quite nice and releasing here. And then coming to stillness, leaving your feet where they are, your knees bent. Bringing your arms out at shoulder height. And then crossing them in front of you with your left arm underneath. So our arms are in a cross in front of us now. And then we're going to bend into the left elbow and swing the right hand around it. So we've just done eagle legs and now we're doing eagle arms. I'm going to sit up so you can see what I'm doing. So our arms are from here. We're going to cross them so the left arm is underneath. Then we're going to bend the left elbow. So we're thumbing our nose with our left thumb. And then we're just going to swoop that right arm to bring either the palms to touch or the backs of the hands. Either will do. Hopefully you can see that. I'll come a little bit closer to the camera. So we were like this, left arm bends, right arm just loops around. So we're laying down with our arms tied up in this spaghetti knot.
And then just raise the arms so that you're looking at the elbow creases. Let me lay down again so that I'm still doing the same thing as you. So we're going to raise the arms as though our hands are going up and above our head so that our elbow creases are in our line of sight. So you'll feel that very intensely in your shoulders, and then just release and let it go. Woo! Squeeze the shoulders together here, squeeze and relax. And now we better do the other arm. So arms come out to the side again. This time the right arm comes underneath. So we've got our arms in a cross. We're going to bend into the right arm at the elbow. We're going to thumb our nose with the right thumb. Then we're going to swing that left forearm around and bring either the backs of the hands together or the palms, wherever you get to. But we're in a nice little knot here. And then we're just going to take the hands up and overhead so that we're looking directly at the elbow creases. So we're getting quite active in the shoulders here. So really squeezing away, squeezing those shoulders up, trying to get those elbow creases above our eyes. And then just relax and release and let it all go. Ooh. Take hands to opposite shoulders, just have a little hug here, take whatever movements feel nice, maybe just rolling from shoulder to shoulder, lifting the elbows up, drawing them down, lifting them up, drawing them down, swapping sides so the other one's on top, lifting them up, drawing them down, up and down. Oh, hopefully you'll be delighted to know we aren't doing any more knotty positions, no more tangles of limbs or anything like that. You can now bring your trusty bolster to assist you in your final position. Just have it handy because there's one more thing I want to do. Actually, I'd forgotten about it. Just laying on our backs and bringing the knees in towards the chest. Crossing the feet at the ankles. I just want to reach and grab the outsides of your feet here. And then just kind of pull them in. And we're just going to do a few little kind of rolls. So tucking your chin in, just rolling on our lower back. And then coming to stillness and hugging those feet right in. So we've done that final little bit of releasing tension, letting the energy flow again, slowly unwinding the feet. Now you can grab your bolster. That was a bit of a teaser, wasn't it? I'm going to suggest that you attempt to take your Savasana in Baddha Konasana or cobbler's pose with the soles of your feet together and your knees being supported by the bolster, but it's entirely up to you. You take your choice. If you find this comfortable, do it. If you don't find it comfortable, don't do it. Just choose something else. Maybe laying in fish pose like we did earlier, where we had our spine supported by the bolster. Maybe you just want to lay your legs out flat, so the backs of your knees are being supported by the bolster. Perhaps you want to be in a supported bridge pose. The choice is yours and endless. So just get yourselves to where you are absolutely and thoroughly comfortable, and then you will have a nice Savasana. So just bringing yourself to where you are still and warm. Maybe you need to grab a blanket or another layer or put your socks on or something like that. And do that. Take a moment or two to fidget and get it right. And then start to really bring your attention back to your inner landscape and all the sensations that are going on, what you're aware of. How your breath is moving through the body. If there's any tension you can let go of, just try and ease it away with an exhale.
Just checking in with the jaw, releasing any tension in the jaw, just letting the teeth be gently parted, upturning the palms so they're in a gesture of acceptance for the practice that you have devoted to your body and all that goes on within. And just think about all the areas that have been worked tonight. Perhaps you're aware of the bars of energy flowing through the body. Perhaps you can feel warmth and tingling in your fingers and toes. And just starting to turn the volume right down of anything that's going on externally to your body. Just tune into your own natural rhythm of the breath and the very subtle movements that are happening with it. Sorry, my dog's having a stretch and a yawn here. He's making a bit of noise. So I'm going to let you have complete silence for a couple of minutes just to let your minds and bodies settle, tuning into the rhythm of the breath. So slowly starting to bring your attention back to your breath. Maybe deepen the inhale a little. Really holding on to the exhale. Bringing a little movement back to your fingers and toes. Perhaps circling into the wrists and the ankles. Maybe taking a full overhead, full body stretch, whatever feels nice. And then slowly bringing one knee in towards the chest and then the other. Taking your roll from side to side here. Before coming to settle over on your right hand side. And then slowly and mindfully in your own time, bringing yourself up to a comfortable seat. We're not going to be here for too long, so don't worry too much. Keeping your eyes closed, keep your movements gentle, soft, unhurried.
And then joining the hands together at heart center in prayer. And let's just bow our heads for a moment here, acknowledging the time that we've set aside to just give ourselves a little self-care, bringing the intention, the attention and the intention inwards. Perhaps bringing to mind now your sankalpa if you had one. And taking whatever quality you sought on the mat, take it off your mat and into the rest of your day. So I'll leave you now with a reminder to be truly thankful for just how amazing your body is and all that it does for you. And to say thank you for practicing with me tonight. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you very much.